I still remember that morning. The sky was gray, heavy with rain, and the streets were empty except for the sound of my own footsteps. I walked quickly, clutching my coat tighter around me, wishing the day could be different, but I already knew what waited for me inside that house. I worked as a housekeeper for an old woman named Mrs. Whitmore. She wasn't evil, not exactly, but her mind was broken. Some days she was quiet, lost in her memories. Other days, she was a storm. She suffered from dementia and other mental troubles, and her moods changed like the weather. Calm one moment, screaming the next. I needed the job. My daughters depended on me. So I endured the shouting, the long hours, and the fear that followed me home each night. The house was big, but lifeless. Cold, like it had forgotten what warmth felt like. The only thing that brought a spark of comfort was her little white kitten, Bella. Bella was so small the first time I saw her, trembling, hiding behind a chair, her blue eyes full of fear. She was terrified of Mrs. Whitmore's voice, of the slamming doors, of the chaos that filled the rooms. Every time the old woman shouted, Bella ran and hid for hours, pressing herself into the corners like she wished she could disappear. At night, when the house grew quiet, Bella would finally come out. She'd rub against my legs, soft and gentle, her purr like a whisper asking for safety. I'd whisper back, "Oh, it's okay, little one. Someday you'll be free." But I never imagined how cruel that house could become. That morning, when I arrived, something felt wrong. The house was silent, too silent. Usually, I'd hear Mrs. Whitmore's voice the moment I opened the door, but not that day. I hung my coat and called out, "Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore." No answer. I walked into the living room. She was sitting by the window, staring blankly outside. Her gray hair was messy, her hands shaking slightly. "Are you all right?" I asked. She turned to me slowly. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" It was one of her bad days. I forced a small smile and began tidying up. That's when I noticed it. The silence. No soft pause. No tiny bell jingling. "Where's Bella?" I asked. "Bella?" she muttered. "That little nuisance. She's gone. Ran away, I suppose." My heart dropped. Bella never went outside. She was too scared to even go near the door. I started searching. Under the bed, behind the curtains, inside the closets. Nothing. "Bella," I called softly. "Come on, sweetheart." And then I heard it. A sound so faint I thought I was imagining it. A tiny, broken meow. It came from the kitchen. I followed the sound, my stomach tightening with every step. It was cold in there, colder than usual. The window was shut. I listened again. The sound came from the refrigerator? No, it came from inside the freezer. My heart stopped. I pulled the door open, and there she was, Bella, curled up between the frozen food, her little body covered in frost. Her fur had lost its shine, and her tiny chest moved weakly, barely breathing. Her eyes were half closed, glazed with pain and confusion. For a moment, I couldn't move. The world went quiet. Then everything inside me broke. "Bella!" I screamed. I grabbed her out with shaking hands, wrapping her against my chest. Her body was stiff, icy cold, but I felt the faintest tremor. She was alive. Mrs. Whitmore appeared in the doorway, frowning. "What's all that noise?" I turned to her, crying. "What did you do?" I shouted. She blinked at me like a child caught misbehaving. She was meowing all night. I told her to stop. She wouldn't listen. So I put her somewhere quiet. I felt sick. The old woman didn't even understand what she had done. There was no time for anger. I wrapped Bella in my scarf and ran. I don't remember how long I ran, only the sound of my heart pounding, the weight of her tiny body in my arms, and the burning in my lungs. I burst into the nearest vet clinic screaming for help. "Please, she's freezing, please save her." The vet rushed her to a table. I stood there, numb, watching as they wrapped her in warm towels, rubbed her paws, and placed a small oxygen mask over her face. Minutes passed. I prayed. To anyone, anything, just to let her live. Then the vet turned to me. "She's alive," he said softly, but it was close. "Her lungs are weak, and she'll need warmth and constant care. The cold nearly stopped her heart." I broke down crying. "Thank you," I whispered. "Please, let me take her home." When I returned to Mrs. Whitmore's house, I lied. I told her Bella had escaped through the window and that I couldn't find her anywhere. She just nodded and muttered something about how cats never listen. But Bella was safe now, safe in my tiny apartment, under the soft blanket on my bed. For days, she didn't move much. She would tremble, whimper, and stare at me with frightened eyes. I spent every night beside her, feeding her warm milk, holding her against my chest, whispering, "It's okay now, little one. No more cold, no more fear." Weeks passed, and she healed. Her fur grew soft again. Her eyes sparkled. She followed me everywhere, to the kitchen, the couch, even to bed. And for the first time in a long time, that tiny apartment felt alive. A few months later, Mrs. Whitmore passed away quietly in her sleep. When I heard the news, I didn't know what to feel. Relief, maybe. Sadness, too, because despite everything, she had been a broken soul, lost in her own darkness. But Bella was my light. She grew up strong and gentle. Every morning she'd sit by the window, watching the sunrise, her white fur glowing in the light, her purr filling the room with peace. Sometimes I'd look at her and think about that freezer, that cold silence, and how close she came to never seeing another day. And I'd whisper, "You made it, Bella. You made it." If you're listening to this, I want you to remember something. Not all cruelty comes from hate. Sometimes it comes from confusion, from broken minds, from people who don't understand the pain they cause. But kindness, real kindness, means doing something even when it's hard. If you ever hear a cry, don't ignore it. If you ever see suffering, don't look away. Because that day, when I opened the freezer, I didn't just save Bella, I saved a part of myself too.